In January 1994, Michael Jackson settled an abuse lawsuit for $23 million and signed an NDA. These songs from his 1995 album History are what he said anyway. Track 7. Money. Michael wrote it and produced it alone.
He did that all on his own. There's no other co-production on that. That song is 100% Michael.
The recording sessions for History ran through most of 1994 into early 1995 at the Hit Factory in New York. Brad Buxer, his keyboard player, was there every day.
The History album, he's there every single day. Comes in at noon, we work till 6. I stay at the studio and he goes home.
Rob Hoffman, the assistant engineer, described what the original plan for the album actually was.
The History record was not originally going to be a double CD. We were told that there would be 2 to 4 new songs. The rest would be the greatest hits. Once Michael got to New York, that plan was completely blown up because he's like, I got a lot to say. We were, immediately working on 8 to 12 songs, which I think expanded, into the neighborhood of 30 or 40 songs, within 6 months.
The track is built on a loop from a commercial library CD.
These loops are off a CD called Skip to My Loops. Anybody can get them. It's Norman Cook, who is Fatboy Slim. I immediately heard the loops and I'm like, oh my God, this is Skip to My Loops. And I was like, Michael Jackson's gonna use the same loops that anybody can buy. But it was also the way he layered them, and they were all laid out on a keyboard, and he sat with Brad and he was like, okay, this loop goes here and that loop goes there, and then you're gonna layer a snare drum on top of this. And the way Michael used almost the same tools that everybody else had available to them and put it into this song, and it's the bones of this song.
The verses are half muttered, half spoken, cynical, and staccato. Then, the chorus explodes into a crowd of Michael's own stacked vocals, chanting anything for money. Buried in the lyrics, insurance, where do your loyalties lie? A 2004 legal motion claimed that the settlement had been negotiated and paid by Michael's insurance carrier, TIG Insurance, over his own protests. He hadn't wanted to settle. He believed paying was an admission that he couldn't take back. His lawyer, Johnny Cochran, disputed that account entirely, said that he and opposing counsel negotiated it directly. Michael was furious at both stories. Nile Rodgers, co-founder of Chic and producer of Madonna's Like a Virgin, played guitar on this track. He had actually refused Michael's first 2 calls. The third time that Michael called, he just said please. Rodgers came in, played his part, and waited in the car downstairs. Michael came down and said, "You got it right, you can leave." That was the day that Rodgers got sober. He never drank or used drugs again. The song ends with a chant, backing vocals cycling through names. Vanderbilt, Morgan, Trump, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Getty. The obvious read is that Michael was targeting Trump personally. The chant wasn't an attack on Trump the person. It was a comparison. The dirty money of Michael's accusers placed alongside names that built empires and got monuments named after them. On May 7, 1996, Evan Chandler, Michael's first accuser, filed a $60 million lawsuit. The defendants weren't just Michael. He also sued MJJ Productions, Sony Music, ABC, and Diane Sawyer. His argument being that the primetime live broadcast and the album's lyrics were a coordinated campaign to breach the non-disclosure agreement. The NDA was supposed to buy silence. The lawsuit argued that money was Michael using it to publicly call his accuser a liar. He wasn't entirely wrong about that, but embedded inside that complaint was something else. Chandler had been writing music, and he'd already named the album. No, I'm not kidding. It's in the court filing, verbatim. The album was called Evan Story, and the intended song titles were also listed. DA Reprised, You Have No Defense, For My Love, Duck Butter Blues, and Truth. The lawsuit demanded that Michael help him release it. Michael fought it for 3 years. 3 arbitrators ruled in his favor. Their language. The complained of activities involved Michael's own public image, his music, and his new album, not the plaintiffs. He won the right to be angry about his own life in his own music. Evan's Story was never released. Track 8, Come Together. Around 1982, Paul McCartney sat Michael Jackson down at his home and showed him his publishing catalog.
Took him aside and said, think about getting into music publishing. And I thought he was joking. He said, oh, I'm going to get yours. Well, I went, oh, he slapped him on the back. Right. Good one. You know, I thought that was a joke.
August 1985. Michael bought the ATV Music Publishing catalog for $47.5 million, including 250 Lennon-McCartney compositions. Paul McCartney had tried to buy it, but he couldn't afford it. Paul and Michael's friendship, which had produced 2 hit duets in the early 80s, quietly came apart. Paul sent letters asking for what he framed as a modest request.
I've actually written to him a couple of times saying, Michael, don't you think after 30 years, don't you think I could have a raise? And he said, oh, well, that's just business.
Paul said after Michael's death that there was no big bust up. They just drifted. Out of 250 songs, Michael covered exactly 1. Money is what he said in code, but Come Together is what he demonstrated in public. The settlement bought his silence, but it couldn't touch what he already owned. The recording itself was an accident that never finished. According to Bill Bottrell, Michael's engineer during the making of Bad, he drove him home one night in 1986, and Michael had a tape of Beatles songs playing in the car. He was pretty interested in my opinion, and I told him that we should pick Come Together. Within a couple days, I had thrown a track together playing guitars and using some crude MIDI stuff. I never intended that track to be released that way. They put it out without informing me, and I still don't know what the credits say. There was a process that any MJ release went through: vetting, rethinking, replacing MIDI with live players. This was a long process. Come Together never did that. Michael's own account is different. He told it to author Adrian Grant. An engineer was already working on it when he walked in, without being asked. He heard it, said it was his favorite Beatles song, and then sang it in one take. Bottrell was never credited for what he built. What the two agreed on, it was never supposed to come out that way. What you hear on the track reflects that. The bass line is the song, everything else orbits it. Raw guitars, synthesized keyboards. For a man who owned the catalog, he sure didn't dress it up. The song appeared in Moonwalker, Michael's 1988 film, as a B-side in 1992, and now in 1995, 9 years after that drive home. The history version is a 4-minute edit of the 1986 recording. It went straight from that rough demo to tens of millions of people, without ever going through the finishing process that every other Michael Jackson release went through. On the History World Tour, Michael performed it as a medley with DS, the track that was a direct attack on the district attorney who had investigated him. The most defiant song he owned, opening into the most defiant song that he wrote. The medley was pulled after a concert in Adelaide, Australia on November 26th of 1996. No explanation was ever given.
Another day has gone.
Track 9, You Were Not Alone. Michael called R. Kelly in 1993 after hearing Bump and Grind. He wanted something written specifically for him. Kelly sent a demo tape, writing from a difficult place of his own. He wasn't writing to order.
When he first heard You Were Not Alone, I was blown away, man. I couldn't believe that he even wanted me to do something. He wanted to come to Chicago and do the song.
Michael asked Kelly to sing the background vocals. And when they were done, Michael said, "You're my brother." Kelly went to the bathroom and broke down crying. History is a heavy record. You Were Not Alone is its exhale, Michael reaching back into his soul and R&B roots, and pulling in the man who represented where it was going. The short film matched it. Wayne Asham directed. Soft light, flowing white robes, his then wife Lisa Marie Presley alongside him, an empty landscape that looked like heaven. The song itself is warm, where the rest of the album is cold. Piano-led, slow building. Kelly's fingerprints in the melody. Michael doesn't fight on this one, he asks. The single debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 on September 2nd, 1995. The first time that had ever happened. The way the chart worked before this was that a single in its first partial sales week could top the chart on airplay points alone before a full week of sales data was even in. Wall-to-wall radio play on a massively hyped release could get there. You Were Not Alone got there. Billboard changed the rule the following month. Mariah Carey's Fantasy debuted at #1 on September 30th of 1995. The window that Michael opened was already closed. At the Grammy Awards that year, the song was nominated for Best Male Pop Vocal and Song of the Year. Seal's Kiss from a Rose won both. Michael did win a Grammy that night though, Best Music Video for Scream. You Were Not Alone was his 13th and final #1. The song also happens to be banned from broadcast in Belgium. In October 1995, two brothers, Eddie and Danny Van Passel, applied to the Court of Leuven for an injunction. They had written a composition in 1993 called If We Can Start All Over and registered it with the Belgian Rights Society, SABAM. Their argument, the melody, was the same. The court rejected them in 2003, 43.46% melodic similarity. Coincidence. The Court of Appeal in Brussels reversed that ruling in 2007 because Kelly couldn't produce any documentation placing his composition before theirs. The song was banned from Belgian broadcast. Vendors face fines of €1,000 per copy. Kelly said that he had never heard of them.
Have you seen my childhood?
Track 10. Childhood. Michael came in with the full melody already in his head.
I remember when we were doing the demo for Childhood. Childhood took about 2.5 hours, which was longer than normal. He had the complete melody. And so I'm sitting there figuring out the chords. And when I would land on the right chords, he would say, that's it.
In January 2023, footage from the Hit Factory session leaked online. Video of Michael recording the vocal for Childhood inside the studio.
Have you seen my childhood?
Lovely. If you do give those cues like that for me as well, it'd be great.
David Foster reinterpreted the demo with a full orchestra. Bruce Swedien recorded the session. 2 years before the album, at the 1993 Grammy Awards, Michael accepted the Legend Award and gave a speech. He was 34.
My childhood was completely taken away from me. There was no Christmas, there was no birthdays. It was not a normal childhood, no normal pleasures of childhood. Those were exchanged for hard work, struggle, and pain, and eventual material and professional success. But as an awful price, I cannot recreate that part of my life, nor would I change any part of my life. However, today, when I create my music, I feel like an instrument of nature. I wonder what delight nature must feel when we open our hearts and express our God-given talents. The sound of approval rolls across the universe, and the whole world abounds in magic. Wonder fills our hearts for what we have glimpsed for an instant, the playfulness of life. And that's why I love children and learn so much from being around them. I realize that many of our world's problems today, from the inner city crime to large-scale wars and terrorism and our overcrowded prisons, are a result of the fact that children have had their childhood stolen from them. The magic, the wonder, the mystery, and the innocence of a child's heart are the seeds of creativity that will heal the world. I really believe that. What we need to learn from children isn't childish. Being with them connects us to the deeper wisdom of life, which is ever present and only asked to be lived. They know the way to solutions that lie waiting to be recognized within our own hearts. Today, I would like to thank all the children of the world, including the sick and deprived. I am so sensitive to your pain.
In the History album booklet, he wrote his own liner note for the track. Our personal history begins in childhood, and the song Childhood is a reflection of my life. I was born on stage, and childhood, it's my mirror, it's my story. The track opens on solo piano, then builds through strings to a full orchestral arrangement. The melody moves in long, unhurried phrases. Michael's vocal is controlled through the verses and opens up only in the final chorus. The lyrics are addressed outward, not reflection, but questions put to someone who already knows the answer. It was released as a double A-side with Scream on May 29th of 1995 and written as the main theme for Free Willy 2. The Adventure Home. Michael had written Will You Be There for the first film. Director Dwight Little said his participation in both was voluntary and below market rate. The 1996 lawsuit didn't just target money, it also named the lyrics of Childhood as a violation of the NDA. The most autobiographical song he'd ever written about what had been taken from him was cited as evidence of a breach. 3 arbitrators ruled in his favor. Nick Brandt directed the short film, the same director behind Earth Song and Stranger in Moscow. It was filmed over 4 nights in Los Padres National Forest, north of Los Angeles, in late May and early June of 1995. 2 additional days of blue screen studio work added the flying boats. Brandt's concept: Michael stands alone in a forest. Above him, children move through the night sky on airships, heading towards the moon. He can see where they're going, but he can't follow. The NDA bought his silence. History spent 15 tracks speaking out anyway.